Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight for this special episode is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am.
Happy Merry Christmas Eve to you, sir. How's everything else going along with you?
Yeah. Ups and downs,
Yeah.
But, I mean, waiting on my unemployment check to drop. I've been waiting on it since November 3rd, so, yeah.
Trust me, the way the world is this year, I mean, we only have a week and a couple days left. It's just they're going to make sure something big's going to happen. I mean, everything that's gone on here recently, yesterday and today. Well, yesterday and the day before that, but whatever. This whole week leading up to this show, I don't know, man. It's freaking ridiculous. But nonetheless, we have to look past all that, as noted many times before, and continue on our Christmas Horrors Marathon on this special Christmas Eve show. Again, this is a film. Well, not film, but this is one that we had planned last week. We knew that we were going to do review this film this week, tonight, and you don't really have hopes anymore. I don't, when it comes to anything. But you have you kind of have a set idea, like, okay, hopefully, it has a decent premise, and I like where it's simple, and you would hope something would come out of it. But yeah, we'll have to get into our review of that a little bit here in a second, as we review Christmas Presents, or AKA Why Hide, when it was first released, I guess. But it's Christmas Presents, and it is Christmas somewhere in London, England, and there's a bunch of friends who I guess only see each other this time of year or something. I don't know. But they're going to see Mackenzie, who recently lost her father, I guess. I don't know. I think it's brought up. But also something happened to her sister. I think it was a twin sister long ago. And so that's the whole reason that she rented this cottage house, because it was near to where her sister disappeared. And so her friends each have their own personalities and problems. We have Yugo, who is her gay soulmate, which you've seen done before in like that episode. That what was it? One of the American Horror Stories. I think it was Cult, where it had the neighbors that were like, if we don't find anybody, if we're a certain age, let's just get married or something like that. I think that's what they did in Cult. Then we have Samantha, who is the energetic person, I guess. I don't know exactly. Alcoholic? I have no idea. Marcus and Anita, who is an interracial married couple, and they're having marital problems in the bedroom. And then we have Joe, who is the older lady of the group. She's a gun-toting cheese nut, loves cheeses, and she's a little bit overweight. Not too bad, but, in the film she's overweight. She's sort of the ugly friend character in a sense, But anyway, they all get together, and they all have their problems, and they all talk and have fun, and Yugo is going off on to, where's he going? He's going somewhere in France or somewhere because he's doing this magnetic panties underwear lingerie ordeal called Why Hide. And so the first half of this movie is them basically partying, telling stories, putting on lingerie, toting around, getting pictures taken, just, average stuff. And then somewhere along in there, there's a horror element that is still kind of, even with it there, it's still not there. I mean, it's sort of, it lingers, but it's like, it's sort of there. But anyway, Yugo's supposed to go on this trip. He's not, and then they just wander around the courtyard of this big, cottage house looking for him. They find him, and things happen. Things happen, Ian. This movie wasn't very good. I gave it a chance because usually I say you have to give it 25, 30 minutes sometimes before it finally finds its footing. I did, and the movie finished, and it still never found its footing. This film didn't really exactly know what it tried to be smart than what it achieved to be. I mean, it has a good setting and a good premise, but it's kind of bland in storytelling and like the character development. Like the couple hates each other, and then like she's like angry at him because like he has feelings for Marcus has feelings for Mackenzie, but it's like a fatherly feeling in a sense. And then like they have like all these things that get brought up, and then like the whole presence that's there is basically like the entity that took her sister who lives at this house. I don't know. But lives there and like out in the fields with this stones thing as a gateway for a portal, and so it's able to find your fear and use it against you. But then that kind of doesn't make sense later on, especially when it comes to fucking Marcus, and like his whole ordeal. Like Yugo doesn't want to die alone. He froze to death. I don't know what happened. Like Joe is like the interesting thing was what happened to Joe and her death. That came out of left field. That could have been fun. That was like hearkening back to like moments of like Funny Man with the Christopher Lee movie. Of like they should have went like something over the top, sort of funny. I mean, they tried to make some comedy in there, but it didn't work. But I was like thinking like if they did stuff like that with Joe and like. And harken back to Funny Man, it's just like it could have been a little bit more palatable, and in the end, like I said, it just becomes a bland movie where things happen, and there's not, basically, like I said, the presence, I guess, used its fear, even though it doesn't, it can take the form, it can take human form it can change into things, and it can make you kill yourself.
Multiply itself. Yeah.
And multiply itself.
I don't.
And
yeah, I'm so confused.
Just because. Yeah.
Yeah. The movie
and then,
was.
There's a keeper.
Oh yeah, that made no sense. I was gonna say, yeah, that absolutely made no sense. I was gonna bring up the old man that, like, I felt like he had a part of it, but that was confusing. It was just like, oh, well, like, okay, but we'll get into more of that in a minute because that's going into spoilers.
Yeah, nothing really. There's hardly any point to the film because you they keep bringing up like, oh, don't mention her sister, don't mention her father, and like they do this seance, this hypnosis. Anita, the black wife, like, oh, you don't, and the husband Marcus is going around like, you shouldn't do that, and you think something like that will come along later on, like maybe she goes under hypnosis and she brings something back, but that's not the case. And like they set up all these things, like, okay, where is this going? And it's just, oh, it's Stonehenge entity causing people to kill themselves. It's like they did that better in the 90s when it was called The Fear with the life-size human wooden puppet. Like those films, the Fear and the Fear Halloween Night, like way better films. And they've done that again, like the certain uses fears against people. Like this one just like it was. They didn't exactly know where they were going. And like I said, they should have done something like with Joe's death and like how over the top that was. And out of left field, because that was just like, that came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, the entity is going to perform opera, and dance. And it's like, oh, what the fuck? And then the kids, where the fuck did the kids come from? I mean, it's the best part in the fucking movie, but still, it's like so out of left field. And like, I don't know. Like, they should have done that to all the other ones, just make it a over-the-top, zany thing, but they try to keep it as leveled and, possibilities as can and not over the top, and it's just like it kind of failed. And like I said, it just becomes a bland movie, and it's long. It feels so long, and it's like how we said last week with Pagan Warrior. Like it's just like you're already finished. You're 45 minutes into this thing. You're like, damn, I'm already almost done with this. And it kept that pace. There's a good pacing. This one, no, you're stuck in there, and it drags. And this is the third one where it's like, my God, like, you said to me, like,
yeah,
well, I'm 2 hours into this, and it's only 22 minutes. It's like, yeah, I know how you feel, because I watched it with you, and, like, I'm trying to figure out a review for this thing, and it's just like, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just like, it's bland, and it's just, like, very uninteresting, and, like, what they're trying to accomplish, you just don't really know. Because it's all over the place and, like, what it's supposed to be about. Because, like, they go through this, like, the whole fears and, like, everyone's bickering about each other. And then, like, they're just wandering around the town, the cottage house. And just, like, they don't do anything. And then they prance around in underwear for 10 minutes that doesn't lead to nothing. And then just, like, a lot of nothingness. And then the presence happens, and it just like it still doesn't know what it wants to do, because that just seemed like it's just like flip a coin and see what sticks. It's just like, oh, Tells, we're gonna have a basement sequence with her missing sister. It's just like I don't know. Ian, your thoughts, and then we'll go back.
It's not her sister. Yeah, and it wasn't even her sister. And that whole thing just was, it kept leading you somewhere, and then it was like, nope, JK. And it's like, honestly though, Jo was the best character in the whole movie. She was the only one I liked. She had the coolest scene. She had the best liner where she was like, when she was holding the gun, and she's like, and then whatever that fucking glasses dude's name is, I totally forgot. I hated him. Yeah, I hated him. And he's like, maybe I think everybody would feel safer if I had it. She's like, why? Is it because of my aim or my VAD? Because I'll tell you, both of those are in tip-top shape. And I was like, nice. I was like, that's actually like one of the better lines in the whole movie. But I was just like, just sitting there, just like, what is on? Like, because that guy, like, they were when they were doing the whole thing, they kept saying, she's not right, she's not right. So I was like, okay, so maybe this girl's having a psychotic break, and she goes around killing everybody. Nope. You think that, because it leads to that, and then it's like, oh, no, we're not actually going to go down this route. Like, I thought the ghost thing was going to, like, make her, like, you know, trick her into killing everybody. And then it goes around just killing people, and I get it. It feeds on fear or something. But,
yeah, but they never even bring up their fears. They never once brought up fears. Like, oh, he died because he didn't want to die alone, and he froze to death. Like, okay, apparently that's a thing now. So, like, and then we have Marcus, right, who's like, my fear, like, later on, is like, my fear is I don't want to lose you. You know, he's talking to Mackenzie. And then, like, the entity takes form of Mackenzie, and then he slits his own throat. And, like, well, that doesn't help. That doesn't do anything. Wouldn't the entity, like, slit its own throat in the form of Mackenzie, and that would cause him to kill himself or to die of some sort of
I thought that too.
reason?
So, like, I mean, that's what I started thinking too, and I was like, well, I guess he just decided to kill himself so he doesn't have to go through with losing her. But then it turned out it was the creature, and you're like, oh, well, that made no sense. Then it could have just, fucking...
It just took control of him. It overpowered him and just, like... Go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying, it could have took form of her being dead.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it obviously can transform itself into like that guy that was in the... tied up in the closet, even though he was actually dead. And it's
you go.
What the
whole
fuck
scene with that, too. Like,
yeah.
Like, you would thought, like, maybe she, I don't know, like you said, like a psychotic break or something, or, like, the whole hypnosis thing not working, and, like, oh, it's just a hypnosis, these things are coming back. Like, that's not the case. It's just a fucking entity in the middle of the freaking woods.
And
it was we go back to that just because shit happens.
It really was. And that girl's, the black lady, her fear was the creature itself. That's why she kept seeing it. And it's like, but I thought, I had no idea, like, because, when she dies and then she comes back and then was like, I think we should give it another try. Like, I was like, okay, he's dead. And no, he's not dead. So, like, I was very just confused by what the whole thing between Mackenzie and that was, because that felt a little forced anyway. Like, I get that he was in love with her, but there was no indication that he was in love with her until, like, it got brought up later on. And then you're just like, oh, okay, well, this is a new development that we're just now learning, that we could have learned, like, in the opening scene with them. And I was just
it took forever to get to the point of, like, everything. Like, all the conversations leading up were, like, nothing. They were superfluous to everything. And then when shit was starting to go down, it still didn't matter. Like, all the things that happened. Oh, it's fear, this fear, that fear. Oh, it takes the form of this, and, like, it's a spider, and it does this, and, like, okay, and then it doesn't do anything. There's no point, hardly, to this film, where, like, they set up everything and it just falls through the cracks. Like, they're doing this sort of like this world building, and they're not even doing anything with the world. Like, there's no personality besides Joe, and the other stuff's just like sprinkled like toppings on a salad. Like, it's just there. Like, oh, awesome, a tomato. Like, that's great. There's a Roma tomato on my salad, sweet. And but sadly, it's the only best thing about the salad. Everything else is just like overpowered. Like, it has plenty of lettuce, but you have that one thing that stands out. Like, that was pretty good, that one part.
Right.
The rest of it was bland, but it was like whatever. It had a great tasting, ripe, fresh tomato on it, and that's what it felt like with Joe. And like all the other characters, just like it just didn't work. There's all these things like this writing and everything else, and the story is like the story could have been there. Like I said, I've seen it done before with like something taking over somebody and making them do their fears. I brought up other sources, and even like harkening back to other Funny Man. with the Christopher Lee Funny Man, where like it could have been over the top and a little bit fun with the deaths, but they don't even do that. It was just as leveled in reality as you could get, and it just didn't go nowhere, and it built up to this thing that's just a wet fart. You know, it's just like oh, that's the end of the movie. Okay, that doesn't add up to anything apparently because what? But all right, whatever. Just because we need that. All right.
Yeah, and like the ending, that ending was just, I think it was worse than the rest of the movie because it made absolutely no sense. Like, I mean, I guess the old man was like controlling that thing and then like making sacrifices so he could steal all the shit.
If they told us it was very, very moot on storytelling there. It's like, oh, ooh, this Jeep looks good. I'm going to take it later. And, like, you kind of know, but, like, they don't do anything. They don't do, like, oh, you know, you kind of know when he comes into play, like, okay, I get it. You know, he's not good. But, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I thought they would do a little bit more with everything. Like I said, the only good scene was the Joe's scene, and that was it. Because they're so outlandish and crazy and left field. Like, where did the rest of this movie go? You know, what happened there? Like, because it's just so unusual that it just takes that left turn automatically and then just, like, goes right, you know, like, you're off course, you know, recalculating, and then that's what they did. Like, all right, well, we're back on this bland-ass track of the road.
Yeah, and like, they even said, like, one of the deaths didn't make sense. And I thought that was kind of funny because, like, the bed was folded when that girl got folded into the bed. Mm-hmm. And you're like, but that doesn't make sense. She's not afraid of a bed. And they're like, well, she was claustrophobic. And,
like,
I was like, so that
smashed her to death. It still didn't make sense. Like, oh, she's claustrophobic. She's smashed to death by a fold-out bed.
Yeah.
He didn't want to die alone, so he's frozen outside behind the wood. But that's not how he just disappeared. Like, and then the entity's, like, standing around, just, like, watching them in a few places here and there, and, like, okay, so, you know, because you're trying to figure out what this entity actually does, because it's still early on. It's just standing there watching over the cottage house. And then, you know, it's watching them from the woods while they're doing things, changing the tire. And then it claws the tire so they can't leave. And then, like, it stalls the engine for the one car when they're trying to go get help for the other car or something, because of Hugo, right? They find him dead, so they're going to go get help. And then that doesn't amount to anything. So it's like all this stuff just happens. And just, like, it doesn't add up to anything character point-wise, storytelling, or the freaking evil that is the presence, you know. It's a freaking blender. It just keeps blending. You know, it doesn't go a certain path, and it's just like as bland as you can get it, you know. It's just like milk and eggs. Like, oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah, like a potato with no salt.
Yeah. And then they give you a little dab of butter, but it doesn't do enough. But one good portion of the potato.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, well, that was a good bite, but the rest of it was kind of bland and dry.
And I'm gonna say the box, when he lit that box on fire, you could tell it was CGI. And I was like, I don't have a problem with that. I was just like,
yeah. Is that a sacrifice? But it's already killing them, so it doesn't really need to be a sacrifice.
Yeah, was he, like, why was there two bodies? And then he said 6.
Yeah. So there's like some kind of like ritual or something that he needs every year for the thing? It doesn't, like, what does that have to do with the sister that went missing? You know, why do they keep saying, oh, don't bring up the dad, don't bring up the sister? It doesn't, I mean, you don't get nothing. You don't get no...
Yeah, and later on they acted like surprised because I know in the beginning they had said something about like their mom or something, and they're like, oh, I have to tell you. Because that's what killed me. She was like, there's something I had to tell you all. I actually had a sister, and she disappeared. And they're like, why didn't you tell us? Oh, because I didn't want to think about it. And then later on, like, a bunch of shit happened. And then she's like, well, there's something else I want to tell you. I didn't tell you all. She would disappear close to here. That's why I came here. And then that's like, okay, so are you trying to look for her? Are you just trying to be close to your sister? Since your dad's dead, you don't really say why you did this. It's like, I expected her to, like, look for clues or something. No,
or go under hypnosis
really do
again,
anything.
or something like that, to go to, like, what's around the corner of, because you make this whole big deal, like, what's around the corner of the stone, you know, what's around there, and then the clock or the bell or some kind of alarm goes off, and then she wakes up and they don't go back to it, and that causes her to go into this, panic state where she thinks everything's not real, that they're against her.
Yeah.
And, you think that would kind of happen with everybody else, but then like, oh, okay, whatever, he's dead in the kitchen still. Like, okay, that changed my mind, It's just because we need to go to the next step of this story. That's because, I don't know, it goes around in circles, and it doesn't place its footing in any sort of
and there's no payoff
plan. Yeah, there's no payoff. There's it for anything.
Exactly. And I was like, we never got closure with the sister. Everybody dies. I mean, I don't care, but I just was like, I'm guessing, like, she saw her sister be set on fire? Is that what I guess he has to do? Like, I don't understand. Like, and he had that big whole huge pile, like, garage full of shit that he stole. You don't think the police haven't? They're like, you know what? Our records say that they all bought tickets to stay at this place. Let's check the owner who owns the house that they're all renting and just disappearing. And it just doesn't make sense. Because it's like, he's not even trying to really, like, cover his tracks. He's stealing fucking cars that are registered. Like, I'm just picking at, movie logic now.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
like,
I mean, the movie logic is there. And then, like, the whole breaking fourth wall at the end of it, just like, that didn't, I don't even know what he said. It's just like,
I don't even remember what he said either. I literally just finished it like 5 minutes ago. So it's like,
so that's a fail unto itself too. Because you think you have this big closing thing like breaking fourth wall, but it's flushed down the toilet as soon as it.
I remember. He's like, this is what they call the real Box Day blues. And I guess Box Day is like European Christmas or something. That's what they call it or whatever. Okay. I don't know, but I was just like, what? Why? Yeah, because I remember now, like, it just was so absurd. It was just so out there, and it didn't even make sense. I was like, why would you say that?
Yeah,
I
I get it, it's a joke and everything, but, like, again, some things work that way, others don't. And like I said, I think this whole film is just didn't work at all. Like, they didn't
keep Joe and replace everybody else's death scene, because her throwing up buttons was amazing.
And the two kids laughing at it was just like, where did the whole fucking presence dancing and singing and everything? Like, what the fuck did that come from? Like I said, that's like the whole thing, like, out of left field. Like, I don't even know. It's like the best thing in the film.
I guess she ate that button when she was drunk. I don't remember watching it, seeing that happen.
No, he came in there. The old guy, he came in there and he saw the button on the floor, and then he picked it up.
And he put it on the table.
Yeah. But again, it doesn't really add up to anything because, again, like, her fear is like her fear was that she was fat, right? But why the buttons? I don't know, because I
or
guess buttons on her
afraid
clothes.
of that clown. I don't fucking know.
I mean,
maybe she's afraid of
made
buttons.
fun of probably as a kid, because that makes sense, because the children laughing at her because she was fat.
Yeah, and they kept calling
So,
referring to her as a him. So I don't know if it was a part of the song that they were doing. Stop that. Sorry, my cat was
well, it was Joe
clawing
Cat
at my
because of her license plate. Joe Cat.
Yeah.
But
it's just...
yeah, I don't know. This film just did not work. I mean, even the Christmas stuff, like I said, it had reasons to. It had like a decent premise if they went full with it. You know, if they even went a little outlandish like they did with Joe, her death, and like what with that with like all the other characters, and it was going this big whole spiel, like this crazy, over the top, you know, in the vein of Funny Man. I'll bring that up again. But like Funny Man has this, you know, overly zany setup anyway, and there's that whole scene in the kitchen area with like the Velma or Daphne-looking chick from that looks like Scooby-Doo. That's in that film, and the baseball bat and her head spins around. It's zany. It's outlandish, that whole scene. But it's like Funny Man's like this, you know, wisecracking, sort of leprechaunish type character, you know, British humor, jester with a baseball bat. And it's just like they could have done something like that. Well, not exactly that, but, you know, just like this crazy entity doing things. And, like, it comes out of left field, and then, like, it goes back to everything's normal, you know, just like that totally different film.
Yeah, no, they really could have done so much with it, like so much, and the potential was there. I mean, like, they're just probably like going it scene for scene, and they're just like, hey, I just got a really cool idea for Joe. All right, well, let's make this a highlight of the movie. But the worst part was just because I kept looking at the time, because I was like, this feels like I've literally just been watching this for hours. I was like, how far into this movie am I? And I was like, you know, nothing really happened until, like, I think it was like around the 45-minute mark or something like that. Was when it shit started going down, and I was just like, why is this movie could have been easily an hour long. Like it easily could have been an hour.
Yeah, there's so many pacing issues. With like, you know, because like the characters, I mean, they try to make you care for them. I mean, especially, you know, you do kind of care for Joe, but like everyone else, you just like, okay. And then you're just trying to figure out where everything is going to go. You know, like you thought, like, why is all these stories coming up between all these characters if they're not going to fully, you know, reach full potential? You know, like, oh, they're having a marriage issue, and he's, you know, he has erectile dysfunction, and, you know, she's, you know, they don't bring up all this stuff, and they just don't ever achieve it. You know, they just, you know, just like they bring it up just because, and then like they never go back to it. You know. And then I still don't understand the whole reasoning for, what was the other girl's name? I forgot her name already. But, Samantha. I have no idea what her point of the film was. She was just there to be like the sex appeal, I guess. And, like, they never really brought up anything.
Mackenzie was the real sex appeal.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then the whole thing, like,
honestly
she's claustrophobic. You know, we brought it up before. Like, okay, she's claustrophobic. You know, like, she was a writer. That's right. She was writing a book or something.
She's like,
so
I quit my job and I'm going to be a writer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so, that doesn't even add up because, I don't know, this film just, it just didn't work. And, you know, we're going around in circles, but there's just, like, there's so much there that, like, it could have been something. You know, we say that a lot, but this one I truly believe that if it was just reworked, it had a few more interesting moments and just pacing issues aside, but there was more depth on, like, why, and, like, all these conversations that lead nowhere, and reasons for things happening that doesn't really necessarily need to happen or be brought up, or why in general for the entity to and then the old man in the house, the portal Stonehenge thing, and this like the sister and the whole reason she disappeared, and like I guess that's the reason to get her to the house. So like, oh, don't bring up the dad, and then like, what happened with the dad? But I guess it doesn't really fucking matter. So it's like all these things. It's like like you're trying to juggle for the first time. It all falls all over the place. Just like it doesn't work.
And then you don't really find out anything until like way later on. Like even with her dad, you don't find out until they're having that conversation out in the woods, and he's like, "I was there when your dad was diagnosed with cancer." It's like, oh, that's what killed her father. Okay, thanks for like, okay, that probably could have been brought up a lot sooner, but I guess that they needed it for this moment.
We needed 10 minutes of aunties showing off and taking pictures and pumping on pool tables.
Yeah, and and I honestly thought that it was they were going to try to push like a political agenda, because how like Mackenzie was going on about like the LGBT propaganda and all that crap, and I was like, okay, is this going anywhere? No, it doesn't. This doesn't even go anywhere.
No.
I was like, this is just okay. I guess we know her political beliefs, but now it goes nowhere, and everybody just completely acts like she said nothing. And apparently it was an issue before, because in the opening scene, she's like, when the black lady called her husband neoliberal, and he's like, since when? And she was like, you say things, and blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, okay, nothing comes up of this. Like, there's nothing happens later on that's remotely. And it's like, then why bring this up other than just to have it as filler? And I just felt like that whole thing could have just been completely cut out. It's like, it's not it wouldn't be the first political movie we've ever watched of every, thing. It's like, I don't care that it's, political. It's just made no sense to the overall story. And I was like,
there's just so much superfluous stuff in this that just did not land, and it just did not work as a whole. Like the characters, story development, and reasonings for everything did not work at all. And there's just like, you want to have a reasoning. Like, crazy as it's been, like Pagan Warrior has been the best fucking thing we watched all week, and that's saying something. That's a high task to Pagan Warrior. It's like, Jesus, at least that one was like straightforward enough and made sense. And like all these other ones are just trying to make things too hard. Where it's a simple fucking premise, and they just overthink it, and it's just like, go one way. You don't need to do all these things and make this and that, and you make it make sense and understandable.
I would rather see 10 minutes of of them getting murdered more than I wanted to see them in like their underwear. Like that right there though, like that really could have just been like a 5-minute thing.
We could have cut that in half and got more character development. With them like drinking and everything and telling stories and reasonings and stuff. You only get a few minutes of that here and there, like when they do the whole seance, not the seance, but the hypnosis and a few quips here and there. But no, we need 10 minutes of them partying for no reason over story.
Yeah.
And
I didn't necessarily mind that as much, but it definitely
they're friends. They haven't seen each other and they're having fun, but it just
the
trim it down a little bit. Yeah.
And I was like, I also thought to myself, I was like, they already make crotchless underwear. You're not breaking ground there, buddy. And I was like, yeah, I get it. It's a magnet so you can clip on, but like, who's gonna know that you're wearing like crotchless underwear.
You can pull them off
Like,
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and like I thought it was going to be because they kept talking about the whole beginning was just sexuality. Like that's all they kept talking about was like everything was like from the writer who was Samantha. She was going to write erotic novels, and her and Joe were I guess dating. That wasn't very clear. Like, she said that they were introduced and they were, like, doing things with each other, but they never really, like...
Yeah, you never really got
I
the
don't know.
point, like, because they came together, in the car, and, like, I don't know. Like I said, they didn't give us much information, character-wise, and it showed in the overall film. It was just, like I said, it's a bland film, and it's just, like, things happen. Things happen. There you go. It's a bland film where things happen. It doesn't really do much, but things happen. There's one great scene with Joe and over-the-top zaniness that just comes out in left field as the highlight of the film, and then everything else just falls back into line, being grounded in reality, and just meanders around for another half hour. But yeah, I really wouldn't recommend it besides the Joe stuff. But again, you have to go through all that hell to get to it.
Oh yeah, and that's just, like I said, I mean, if it was just a little bit more clear, like just trim some stuff down and then add a little bit more to the other parts that are lacking. Like, I mean, it was all there. It's just like, especially almost all the deaths except for like two or three happened off screen.
They needed to make up the fears. They needed to tell us more of the fears. Like they gave us Anita and in a sense Marcus, like the other stuff. Like I don't even know what Mackenzie's main fear was. Like they never even brought that up. I don't even think they brought anything up. Like it's like she's still looking for her sister, so it's like all the dead people are coming back. Like Hugo's attacking her, and her sister is there. And then like, oh, okay, whatever. She's gonna be burned alive. Doesn't matter. Maybe that was her fear, being burned alive. I don't know.
Or being that she was actually abandoned her sister, because they kind of brought that up, and then she was like, my sister calls me this name, that's how I know you're not her. I'm like, you haven't seen your sister in a very, very long time. I doubt that's one thing you would remember. Plus, like, your sister's been kind of in a hole. So I was like, I kind of fell flat a little bit. But also, you could easily see that coming. That was what that was going on. But she was able to, the creature was able to recite most of their memories. So I was like, so it can read minds. But I don't know.
We're just going around in circles now, picking all the things. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for our review of Christmas Presents.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bland movie where things happen. It's not really worth the watch. After I went through everything, that was 80 minutes, not really anything. I was sitting there you know what I want to watch? Await Further Instructions, where people are in the house during Christmas time and the aliens on the TV take over. That was an awesome movie. But nonetheless, it's just I was thinking of all these other movies I'd rather be watching. Just out of nowhere, I haven't thought about Await Further Instructions or review. And they're like, you know what? That's you watch again. Yeah, but that was a really good one we had fun with. And it had the same thing, too, the characters coming along and all the little problems they had, but just, it worked better. There you go. There's another film that we suggest over this one, Await Further Instructions. But, Ian, that's going to do it for our Christmas Eve episode. We've got one more show left for our Christmas Cars Marathon next week. Close out the year of 2020. So until then, Ian, take care, have a happy holiday, and everyone else, thank you for listening. Enjoy your holiday with your loved ones if you're able to. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Finish our Christmas Cars Marathon.
Happy holidays and good night.